Hey everyone, I'm Melissa from Knitting the Stash, and this is a special yarn launch video for Shorn V. This is the 5th small batch yarn I've produced, and in this video you'll get to see the yarn, all 3 colors this year, the kits, shawls, cowls, wonderful things, and figure out how you can get your hands on all of it if you're interested. So for those of you who have been around a while, you know that Shorn is a yarn that I try to produce every year, but because of the ways that yarn processing, fleece processing works, it doesn't always happen every year. So this Shorn, which is the 2024 edition, is actually from fleece that I started with back in 2022, right? So this is how long it takes to produce a yarn. And this yarn is a lot like the other Shorns in that a lot of the fleece from this one came from Kathy Capel's Seven Sisters farm. She raised Corriedale and a little bit of Teeswater mixed in there. Those are the sheep that we pastured back in Illinois for many summers. They're just wonderful sheep. So it's nice to like see their fleece actually come to life as yarn. But this batch actually has another set of fleece mixed in, and those fleece are also Corriedale. They are from Rhonda of You and Us out in Nebraska. And Rhonda and I have had we've been long-time correspondents, shall we say. I featured You and Us way back in my blogging days. We did a farm feature for them and for their sheep and their yarn. So it was really fun to get back in touch with Rhonda and find out that she had plenty of fleece left over. So she sent me some fleece in the mail. And her fleece were some beautiful multicolored or different colored Corriedales. So there was some deep rich browns in there. There were actually some fleece that had different colors within the fleece, almost like a Jacob, really beautiful. So from her yarn we get the wonderful colors for the most part. So the deep rich brown that's in this year's Shorn, we used some of the brown to blend in with the white to create a gray, and that's how we ended up with all 3 colors. So a huge thank you first of all to Kathy and to Rhonda for raising beautiful sheep and for allowing me to use your fleece for this yarn. I will say that on a slightly sad note for me, Kathy is no longer raising sheep. She had some personal reasons for doing so, and she has all my support, of course. I'm just sad that this is it. This is the last Shorn that will have Kathy's beautiful Seven Sisters fleece in it from the wonderful sheep that we pastured. So Dolly and Almond and Cindy Crawford and just Fiona and all the sweet babies. They've all found wonderful homes and have moved on to other flocks. They're happy and healthy as far as I know. And yeah, I just want to say a special thank you to Kathy for letting me work with your fleece for the last 5 Shorns. So this one is extra special because it's the last of Kathy's yarn, last of Kathy's fleece. So on that note, it's a super special yarn. It's a limited edition, as are all the Shorn yarns. In fact, Shorn 1, 2, and 3 totally sold. They're sold out, gone. Shorn 4, I have a few skeins left. So if you are still thinking about Shorn 4, I have I think 20 some skeins left of that yarn. So if you're interested, it's still up on the website. But Shorn 5 is going to be the same kind of thing, very limited quantity, because as a small batch yarn, there are only so many fleece. I think this year we were working with about 70 or 80 pounds of fleece total. And to split it into 3 colors, to put together a 3-ply DK weight yarn, the fleece goes fast. So there's not a whole lot of this yarn out in the world. That's what makes it extra special. And that's also what makes so special, I think, these kits that Erika Field designed, these beautiful patterns that she put together using this yarn to the max. So let's get right over and talk about those in just a second. I want to show you the yarn just so you can see it up close. We do have 3 different colors. This is the plain natural white. It is a 3-ply. I'll try to pull that out so you can see it on the camera there. And it is a very plump, squishy, I'd say a kind of springy yarn. That's Corriedale we've talked about on here before. It's a medium fleece, so it does have a little bit of, it definitely has crimp to it, not as much as merino, but it doesn't have as little crimp as, like a long wool or something like that. It's a nice medium kind of fleece. And it really produces beautiful, I love the 3-ply, because you can do, as Erika and I were talking about, you can do so many things with the 3-ply. You can do cables with it, you can do color work, it really plumps when you wash it. and you can get a good sense of these colors and just the kind of roundness of the yarn. It's beautiful yarn. I love this one. Now this one was spun, unlike the other Shorns, this one was spun at Battenkill Fiber Mill in New York. So we had a little bit of a different spinning process this time. It'll be slightly different than the other Shorns. I really like the work that Battenkill did with this particular batch of fleece. I've seen their work because they also spin a bunch of yarn for Georgia Rustic Wool, for Joanne, and her yarn is in my shop. So I was able to see the work that Battenkill Fiber does with like medium kinds of fleece before I ever sent the fleece off to the mill, so it was really nice that way. So this is a Battenkill fiber spin, and one of the differences this year was that the yarn came back with some spinning oil on it. So what I've done is pre-washed all the skeins for y'all. So that's why they're a little bit plump and fluffy, and when you get them, they're very soft to touch and just very like squishy. So they've all just been washed in a very gentle wool wash and hung out in the sunshine to dry, which gave us a better sense for both me and Erika of how this yarn would behave once it was worked up in the patterns. So Erika worked with the yarn that was pre-washed, I worked with the yarn that was pre-washed, so you will also be working with yarn that's pre-washed. And by pre-washed I just mean we got the spinning oil off it so that it's got a little bit of life to it. And spinning oil is a normal kind of thing that gets applied in the mill to keep down static electricity and to help the fleece, make it through the whole process without just floating away. So it kind of dampens it down just enough to help it get through the machines and to keep it kind of like moving through the entire spinning process. So no shade on spinning oil. I just like it mostly off my yarn before I start working with it. So I thought you might want it to be that way too. So we have two beautiful patterns to go with the new release. This is something that we do every year. I've worked with some wonderful designers in the past, and this year is no different. Erika got in touch with me. She is Grapefruit and Gardenia on Instagram. She has her own podcast, Knit Kind, and she does beautiful work. So I would check out her patterns. I'd advise you to go check out her patterns, all of them. And these are two of the latest that are meant to go along with Shorn 5. They'd be beautiful in just about any farm yarn. So one of the things we planned, since Shorn 5 is such a small release, is to have some alternate kits in the shop as well. So if you can't get your hands on a Shorn 5 kit because everything goes too fast, these patterns would be beautiful knit up in other farm yarns and other yarns you might have in your stash. It's a very versatile pattern, and both of them are versatile patterns in that way. For this one you need 2 colors, contrasting. For this one you need 3. Ideally they're colors that kind of go together, but color, you know what you like, and you can put whatever colors you want together. So we have some Shorn kits in the knittingthestash.com Flack Farm Yarn shop, of course, because it's Shorn 5 launch. But I also have a couple of other suggested kits up there with Ranching Tradition Fiber, which is another beautiful farm yarn from Montana, and actually it's called Seven Sister, I think is it called Seven Sisters Farm Yarn, something like that. You'll see the kits. Basically it's another version of Kathy Capel's yarn, a couple of years older, that she and my friend Beth hand dyed, and so they're beautiful colors, and any blend of those colors would be beautiful for this shawl, but we put together a few kits just in case you wanted to do something like this in color. We're just trying to do all kinds of options this year. It's fun. So the Shorn 5 version of these look a lot like this. This one is a Mobius cowl, so it is not you can see that it's called Unbroken Circle, and that's because it just is unbroken. It's Mobius, so it's twisted. It has a little twist in it. And when you knit it, you actually knit it in the round in a tube and then join the 2 bits together. And this is where the join happens, right here. So you can't really see it. I like that. It's just a little bit of a different indicator that those 2 things are coming together. It is fairly simple to work. I have a whole video to accompany this yarn launch video, where Erika and I sit down and talk about these designs in detail, her inspiration, how you knit them, all the different things about these designs. So I hope you'll check that out as well. I won't repeat myself too much here, except to tell you that this is a wonderful, pretty easy pattern to knit. It's stranded color work, yes, but the pattern repeats itself, so it's pretty easy to memorize. And you're not using any long floats. So even someone who is new to color work could pick this up, I think, and do just fine with it. You're working in the round, you're not working in the flat, so you're not having to purl backwards or anything. The pattern does include some purl stitches for the little sheepy ovals here, but those could easily be omitted and you could just do knit stitches with no problem if you're new to color work. So it's a beautiful, versatile pattern. I like this one because unlike other cowls, it doesn't sit, you know, it's not this kind of cowl. It's more of a kind of drapey cowl, and it would be perfect for tucking under a coat. You have some options because you have both the light side and the dark side, so you can kind of style it as you will. I like all that kind of versatility that comes with this cowl. It's a beautiful cowl, really fun to knit because it just keeps changing fast enough to keep you interested. So this is the Unbroken Circle Cowl, and again by Erika Field, who was kind enough to come up with some beautiful designs for Shorn V. This is the Shearing Day Shawl. There's some great stories here. Again, I really want you to go over and check out that interview with Erika so that you can get a sense of where she's coming from as a designer and all the choices that went into putting this shawl together. So this shawl is a triangle. See that? It has pretty large wingspan actually, which I am very impressed with. I mean, it is 3 skeins of yarn, but it's still a beautiful wingspan with a central spine. You have a garter tab cast on up here, and then even though it looks quite complicated, looks like a lot of color work, there's no color work in here except for this mosaic stitches, which is also known as like slip stitch knitting. So you're never working with more than one color at a time. So if you're not into color work, right, if this is like, oh, I don't want to do color work, no color work here, just mosaic slip stitches, garter stitch. This is a cute little pattern that actually looks like little sheep. It's so adorable. You have a little bit of cabling in here, all in one color, just to keep it interesting. And then again, you get back to the repeats of that mosaic and the other patterns that are featured over and over again. I love Erika's sense of proportion here. One thing that's really cool about this design is that it kind of moves from smaller pieces of the pattern down to larger repeats of the pattern. So you get this sense of weight, which I love if you're wearing it kind of hanging off your back, but it's also scrunch upable. So you can totally scrunch this up. I'll put it on me so you can see it's easier than putting it on the mannequin. You can kind of scrunch it up just like a regular, any other kinds of shawl, you know, an asymmetrical shawl or a triangular shawl, and you can wear it just around your neck. It's very cozy. Someone was asking whether or not Shorn is a kind of next to skin yarn, even though it's a farm yarn. A lot of people associate kind of, I don't know, rustic crunchiness or something with farm yarns. I find this to be really soft and very, it's fun. I mean, I could sit here like this all day. I like woolly wools. This is a woolly wool, but it's also very soft. And so I would say it's certainly up to your own personal preference, you know, what you like in terms of your wool's rustic crunchiness, but I think this is a pretty soft batch of Shorn, pretty soft batch of Corriedale yarn. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. So I'll put this back on the mannequin just so that you can see that central spine running down here. And one of the other cool things about this pattern, actually both patterns, is that Erika designed them to maximize yardage. So you're using these precious limited, you know, especially if you're into farm yarn, you're using limited supply. You're trying to maximize, you know, every bit of that skein that you have. So both of these patterns, I think this one, I think she used, I want to say like 90 some grams of each of the white and the brown. I used about the same, and each of these skeins is about 100 grams. So you still have about 10 grams left over. I think that's pretty darn close. It's close enough, right? If you want to do a swatch, something like that. So this one maximizes the use of both of those skeins. And this pattern, what Erika decided in the end, which I think is a really great choice, is that this final section of the slip stitch pattern is optional. That way, depending on your gauge, because depending on your gauge and how much yardage you have, you may or may not have enough to repeat that last stitch pattern in full. So one of the things you can do is just knit the shawl so that it ends up coming down to finish with this pattern. Then you add this garter work at the end, just to give it a little bit of that finish, right? The bottom of this one. So even if you are working with Shorn 5, you'll want to probably measure the weight of your yarn as you get through. She talks about this in the pattern, just to see how much you have and whether or not you have enough to complete this last little bit. I think this pattern is cool because it's beautiful either way, and you can see other versions of it up on the Ravelry project pages. One of our testers finished the shawl without adding this optional last repeat of the pattern, so you can see it in a number of different ways. I love it. It's a beautiful shawl. Simple to knit. Like I said, I think these patterns are really versatile and good for people who want to try out new techniques. So, you know, maybe beginners or advanced beginners who are interested in trying some slip stitching, a little bit of cabling without even a cable needle. There's instructions in there for doing it without a cable needle, which I totally did and loved. And I think these patterns are interesting enough for expert knitters or, you know, people who've been knitting a long time, because they change and move. There's a lot of difference going on here. There's some fun techniques with provisional cast-ons, color work, slip stitch. You know, it's fun to keep wanting to get to the next section of the pattern. So I'm really excited about the work that Erika Field did for Shorn. Thank you so much, Erika, for getting involved in this project. I love your stories behind these patterns. I will leave those stories for you to tell over in our interview that's also up on YouTube now. And we hope that you will be as excited as we are about this yarn and these patterns. So if you're interested in getting in on Shorn 5, it is now up on the Flock Farm Yarn Shop website, knittingthestash.com. All the links are below in the description of this video, but you can find the yarn itself over on that page under Shorn. You can find the kits over there under the kit page. And like I said, limited edition on the kits. So there aren't too many of these kits out there in the world, not too much of this yarn, because it is it's a limited small batch farm yarn. And as I said in the beginning, this one is very close to my heart because it is Kathy's final fleece that are going to go into Shorn. So I just want to say once again how special it is to work with these shepherds, to know them, to know the sheep, to work with designers, to work with the mills. It's an amazing process. It takes years. Like I said, this one started in 2022. It's 2024, so you do the math, right? And it's just a wonderful thing to see the yarn come back from the mill and then to see it transform into these beautiful patterns and to see it out in the world in your stashes and in your posts on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for supporting Shorn all these years. Maybe there'll be another one. You just never know. I haven't given up on Shorn, even though I no longer have Kathy's fleece at the heart of the project. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see where it goes from here. But this is Shorn 5. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the work that Erika did and the shepherds, and I hope you all enjoy it as much as we enjoyed putting this together for you. So thank you.